Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Eastside TV Special Forum at the 2025 annual meeting of the new champions. My name is Yin Fan from Eastside Media Group, the financial arm of Shanghai Media Group. This panel is being recorded as a TV special program, 中国经济论坛 CBN Forum, that will air on Eastside's different platforms, TV channels, and other media outlets. So to ensure the best recording quality over the next 60 minutes, please minimize your movement and make sure your phone is quiet. And you're welcome to share the content of this discussion on social media. Don't forget, use the hashtag AMNC25. Now let's start. Today's topic is nature, a $10 trillion opportunity. Nature and the profit were once seen as uneasy bedfellows, but today they are increasingly part of the same sentence. Estimated by World Economic Forum, the nature positive solutions are projected to generate $10 trillion business opportunity by the year 2030 annually. So that's not charity, that's economics. But nature positive transformation needs more than good intentions. It needs smart policy, it needs risk-aware finance, needs sustainable and scalable business models, and also needs credible data. So from that regard, we are very fortunate to have 4 speakers who represent exactly that mix. Let's meet them. An official shaping the rules, Matuli and Kubi, Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion of Zimbabwe.
Thank you.
Welcome, Minister.
Thank you.
A financier navigating incentives. Kenya Yoshiura, President and Vice Chairman, Mizuho China, Managing Executive Officer, Mizuho Bank, Mizuho Financial Group, Japan. Welcome. A founder building solutions from the ground up. Luisa Ribeiro, Co-Chief Executive Officer, Bioverse Brazil. Welcome. And a scholar who reminds us why any of this matters. Ms. Wang Yao, Director General, International Institute of Green Finance, Central University of Finance and Economics, People's Republic of China, 中央财经大学绿色金融国际研究院院长王瑶，王老师。
Hello, Professor Wang.
For coming, let's get started. Let's start with where we are on the nature positive transformation journey, starting with you, Minister. Zimbabwe is a design stage country of UN's Biodiversity Finance Initiative, which is an initiative of over 130 countries, seeks to develop and implement innovative finance solutions for the nature. So the question is, what are you expecting from being part of this global partnership?
Our strategy for raising finance to support the nature economy really hinges on tapping on carbon credits. Here we have put together some set of policies which are meant to maximize our rewards from climate with a view of plowing back onto conserving nature. So we have a framework that we have developed, and I've been leading that, chairing the cabinet committee for that. So first of all, we thought, look, let's also protect the local communities.
Yeah.
Let's have a 70-30 revenue sharing formula, where 70% is kept by the project promoter and 30% goes towards supporting the local community and the wildlife around it, also to reduce human-animal conflict. So we took a big bang approach, which was initially to say, all of you have signed all these fancy contracts with the local chiefs, the local authorities, stop.
Yeah.
Stop. So that's how we react as government. Say, stop everything. And then we also sobered up a little bit. We said, okay, let's negotiate. And now we're very, I would say, circumspect. We won't insist on the 30, 70, but some percentage for the community. We've also launched a trading platform as well, a blockchain trading platform for transparency and so forth. So that's where we see most of the funding coming from climate finance as we try to deal with this agenda. But look, the issue of the nature economy is also broad in the sense that it is on land, it is below land.
Yeah.
So mining, forests, tourism. It is also on agriculture, which is above land. It is in the seas, it is in the rivers. So this economy is quite widespread. So we're also harnessing resources, or rather revenues as a country through tourism. And we have a set of policies, again, to govern these sectors.
Minister, briefly, what are the challenges so far?
The challenges are that, first of all, as regulator, as government, we do not understand much about carbon trading in the voluntary market. Yeah. We are told these are the auditors who audit these instruments, and I've never heard of any of those names. It's not KPMG or any of the auditors that we know about. It's other type of auditors. So it's a new field, and we felt that we didn't have all the information. So the challenge was just understanding the market. But looking at investments across other nature-driven subsectors, be it forestry, be it tourism, be it this and that, we find that there is a shortage of capital in general for these sectors. For instance, we just want to build more hotels so that tourists can come and exploit enjoy the nature. And it's not easy to raise such a capital where we're finding that. For the mining sector, we used to have something called gold loans in the past when I was still in banking. Yeah. And now these have dried up with the gold price where it is. You'd expect more financial sector companies to be investing more in that sector and doing it sustainably. So I could go on. These are some of the issues that we're beginning to see in the market. But we stand ready to give the right incentives.
We will definitely dive that issue later. Luisa, you're from private sector. The numbers we are talking about today is $10 trillion annually. Do you think is this number realistic or too ambitious?
I'm coming from Brazil, so I mean, we are going to generate probably a big part of that. Yeah, I'm very optimistic about it. So just to give a little context, Brazil is home to the largest rainforest in the world, and also the largest biodiversity as well. And with that, also nature-based solutions as a possibility of generating incomes and possibility. And so from that, bioeconomy, if you look at bioeconomy and its potential, it's something that it's important to explore. So in nature-based solutions, we're talking about preservation, about conservation, restoration, agroforestry, but it's important to talk about also the aspects of and the importance of the bioeconomy. So if we take, for instance, the species that we have only in the Amazon, we have many other biomes in Brazil, but we have around 50,000 species of plants, of which only 1,000 are known species. So imagine the potential with everything that we have in the forest. And we're talking about oils, we're talking about butters, we're talking about resins, we're talking about medicinal plants. Yeah. There's so much potential that we still need to tap on in terms of possibilities for businesses, for private sectors, for corporations in the bioeconomy sector. So this is what we're working on, and this is what we're tapping on and to give power to this sector.
Luisa, you're right that Brazil is very active on this front. It's the home of the largest tropical forest in the world, and also introduced a number of laws to protect vegetation. So the question, what is the momentum of the private sector, of the finance community?
Yeah, we're in a very interesting momentum, especially because we're hosting the COP30 this year in Brazil, in Belém. That's happening soon. So recently, and we're talking about probably the last couple of years, we saw a lot of enthusiasm also from the private sector, from the investment sector, in terms of creating instruments to foster these investments in nature-based solutions. So we're talking about, to name a few, the Nature Investment Lab created last year with multilateral organizations, but with BNDES, with major Brazilian banks that are mobilizing $10 billion by 2030 to be invested in restoration and the bioeconomy through the Bioeconomy Coalition. We're talking about EcoInvest that was created also last year, and also in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank, Environmental Ministry, to reduce risks, which is very important. We're going to probably mention here the blended finance and how important it is to foster these type of investments. So again, another $10 to $20 billion for the sector. We're talking about also another Brazilian bank, BTG Pactual, and the Timberland Investment Group initiative that is aiming to mobilize $1 billion in terms of capital, has already raised $500 million. So many initiatives that have arisen in these last couple of years, and that is a proof of the enthusiasm in the sector.
That's very impressive. Let's go to Kenya. Kenya, same question to you. $10 trillion annually by 2030. Is that realistic or too ambitious?
I hope it's realistic for us, particularly for financial institutions like ourselves. So let me introduce a little bit about myself, because I am the least known person among the excellent panelists today. So I've been with Mizuho for 32 years, and half of my life, career life, 16 years, I have been in China.
Yes.
And in banking industries. Then we are acting as a foreign, the invested bank in China. Our position is a little bit different from the Chinese local banks. Yeah. My long stay in China started back in 2004. That time, the Beijing all day, the belt in the gray curtain of haze. But now if you go to Beijing, you can clearly, see the skyline to the west and north. That, I think the evidence of the, strong, support or the leadership of the Chinese government to, protect the environment and the nature. Yeah. So on the back of that strong leadership and policy support, we see a lot of opportunities that we got a very, the supporting policy, like, the central bank, the PBOC, provide the lower cost funding for the such, the ESG, the oriented projects. Yeah. So that's, of course, that's a good support for us. And also the Chinese, entities, they are becoming more and more global. Yeah. So they are tapping the global capital market, in the, the debt capital market, the equity capital market. So I believe there are, the many, the type of, opportunities we are fitting into our, the capability.
Kenya, you are in charge of Mizuho's China business. Would you please share with us some successful practice you have developed in China on this regard?
Yeah, again, I mentioned a little bit about the financial products, simple products like a green loan, the sustainable ability-linked loan, and those kind of things we have already arranged, not only for the foreign direct invested companies, but also the Chinese domestic companies. Yeah. But we are the foreign, the invested bank, foreign banks here. So we want to, fully demonstrate our capability. So now the many of the Chinese corporates and also the foreign companies like Japanese corporates, they are looking for the business partners here, the locally. So we are as a the play a catalyst role to support such kind of collaboration across the nations, China, and that's the one of the area we are focusing on, and we see some accumulating some successful cases for that.
Yes, thank you very much. 王老师，这个从研究者的角度。
Thank you. Let's ask this question to Professor Wang. When talking about this nature financing, and what is your perspective of China and the rest of the world?
Okay, thank you very much. So, as the other panelist has mentioned, and also to ask about what's the future scale of the nature finance. So, I want to echo Mr. Kenya. So, we believe that now we hope to achieve that goal, but we still have the difficulty and challenges. So when we look at China, we have the eco-civilization and also the reform strategic plan. And as President Xi Jinping has mentioned in 2005, the clear water and the sky is also the gold mountain and the silver mountains. So we see that this is with the support of the national strategy and the policy support. But we are still facing some challenges. And when we look at the financial institutions, we already have the awareness, but we still need to address several questions, like what is our standard? And when we invest in nature, like the financial institution, we need to have the taxonomy, that is the reasoning of our investment. So the PBOC is promoting this work, and we are having the pilot in 10 provinces and the cities. So we hope that with a taxonomy as a guidance, we can have further insight. Another is about the economy, like how to make it bankable. So if we hope to change people's mentality and to make people feel it is not just a public investment, and we also can have the social and even private capitals to be invested in this field. And we also can have the diversified mechanism like insurance and the other financing. And we may also have the other industry to be introduced into this mechanism and to make it more economical. So I feel that these are very key questions that we need to address. And we also know that protecting the environment and ecosystem is very important. Nature is very important. But when we look into the economics, we kind of feel that there is a dilemma. So I feel we need to first address this paradox. Actually, the benefit from protecting ecosystem and the nature, and also to get the economical benefit, these two can be achieved as a synergy. We need to have this kind of awareness and the knowledge and know-how, and at the same time the capability should be enough, like the risk assessment and the value assessment. So for the natural resources, the evaluation and also the methodology for the measurement and the calculation and the monetization, and also the transaction and the capitalization, these are all the issues should be addressed. And once we have got it, we can get the result.
Solutions to make nature positive transformation not only possible, but also profitable. So that's the thing we have to do now. So that next I have a question to all of you in terms of innovation, in terms of innovative solutions. Everybody is talking about tech, talk about AI. So the question goes to all. How would you think tech can help on this regard, Minister?
Zimbabwe has a strong track record in rhino conservation, for example, which is a big source of revenue for tourism. If I was listening to my colleague Wang Yao talking about the economic model that maybe is not adding up, but the off-take is clearly tourism. Surely it adds up. I don't understand why bankers are not understanding it, that by investing in this biodiversity and so forth, the off-take is on the tourism side. So the economics is clear, at least from where we sit. But coming back to using technology, for example, we need technology to track, let's say, a rhino behavior, the health of the rhino, maybe even try to work out where the poachers are, follow them with drones and so forth. So clearly technology is a key part of conservation in managing some of these species. And I'm using rhino just as an example. It could be any species for that matter that we could use technology for tracking. So that's how I see it, as an information management tool to assist us with effective conservation.
So specifically, one question for you, Minister. As the ecological cooperation between China and Zimbabwe continues to deepen, what kind of business opportunities do you see emerging from this partnership?
There hasn't been much so far in terms of the sort of the nature economy. It has really been around sort of what we can extract below ground because that's also part of the nature economy, broader nature economy. So it's been strong on mining.
Yes, how to do the mining in an eco-friendly way.
Exactly, that's where I was headed. So yes, look, China is the largest investor in Zimbabwe in the renewable, what do you call it, the new energy mineral space. So lithium, for example, rare earth minerals, they're very active here. About 7 companies are invested here. And again, we've been working together to make sure that this mining is done sustainably. There is proper adherence to environmental rules and regulations, rehabilitation of the environment. All of this we've been insisting. It doesn't work most of the time, We sometimes have to really go back and try to enforce quite forcibly as regulators to make sure that these private investors adhere to the rules and protect the environment. But also what we've done is we also want a sustainable relationship with the communities. So as government, we also insist that the companies basically contribute through CSR activity. Now we're even insisting a share of revenues to the local community, build schools, build hospitals, drill boreholes, provide water sources, improve healthcare. So we're insisting on that, apart from just dealing with the environment, and make sure that there is proper rehabilitation or sustainable mining.
Luisa, take question.
Yes, so at Biverse, we believe that good data quantification is essential to de-risk investments, to determine the ROI, to bring more investment flows. So that's what we've been working on, gathering data. So using geospatial intelligence, so using satellite imagery, remote sensing through drones, and artificial intelligence to do that in scale. And with that, lowering the cost also of producing this data, because it can be very costly in certain areas. So that's how technology can support more investment in this field and more development in these types of businesses.
What's the quality of data so far?
What is the quality?
Quality of data.
Yeah, so in terms of the remote sensing, we can get 3 centimeters per pixel resolution. So you can determine the species level on the ground. So it's very good quality data, and with the technology, it's getting better. It's getting better at the speed of light.
Yeah, Luisa, from you are running a nature-focused business. So from that perspective, what signals are you seeing that suggest the market is starting to view nature as a serious and viable investment opportunity?
Yeah, we've seen also from what I've mentioned earlier, so many new investments, so many collaborations in terms of multilaterals, private sector, looking at it as not only ESG and sustainability anymore, but as a serious investment opportunity with real value. And now with technology and the right technology in place, you can actually measure this and quantify this. So definitely a great signal from the market.
Yeah, Kenya, how technology can help in terms of unlock the business opportunity, improve efficiency, improve impact?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I echo Luisa. Let me give you the specific example, what we are doing in the ASEAN countries. As a whole, we are developing a method to map the exact boundaries of plantations and farms supplying raw materials, especially in the ASEAN countries using satellite and remote sensing technologies. Through this pilot, we are building the indicators and evaluation criteria, as well as monitoring tools. Our aim is to support sustainable sourcing and enable more accurate and transparent reporting. So the collaboration with the innovative tech companies, especially those using AI technology, is a key in this space. In China, of course, there are too many environmental monitoring tools being developed. So I see the many opportunities here to take advantage of that.
Yeah, Mizuho is a financial institution. So what needs to change in the wider ecosystem to increase financing to the nature positive transformation?
So the one is, of course, the how to evaluate the value also we can call it the pricing of the the financial the tools for the the nature the finance. So that's really something we are trying to sort out such kind of problem to try to create the more concrete KPIs which can be applicable to the financial products. That's one area. And also the risk taking is an issue for the the private sector like ourselves. So that we need the good the distribution of the role between the public sector and private sector. That's necessary to materialize those.
How about data? Are they easily accessible? Are they good in quality?
You mean the?
I mean data.
Data.
You mean when you do the valuation, you need data, right?
Yeah. Now that we are working on that. Of course, it's not perfect. It's still in the the middle of the development. But again, I said that there are so many good technology here in China, so that I see that the opportunities.
王老师，就是刚才您谈到了我们做这种。
So Professor Wang, and talking about the nature positive, for the financial institutions, this is also a profitable opportunity. So what's the gap between knowing that and doing that? Thank you. And a very important reason is that in the transformation toward the nature positive, technology is very critical. And on the one hand, it is about the nature reserving and also the conservation, and also for the soil and the water system. So it relies on the protection and also the conservation technology. And on the other hand, as mentioned by the other panelists, a very big issue is that we don't know how to do the accurate assessment, monitoring, and to let the information support the transaction. And this is very important for the natural resources capitalization. So the data and digital technology will be very important. If we use the current the intelligent technology, we can better monitor the natural resources asset, the status of it, and do the assessment and evaluation in a lower cost. And in this process, we also need to promote the ecological credibility and the platform building. So with the technology like the blockchain, it also can help us to reduce the transaction cost. So in this way, we can actively improve this work and to transform the natural resources to the capital resources. And this is a capitalization, and feel that the technology can provide critical support in this part. And we also can see the other benefit, like the financial industry. We advocate this industry to support the natural protection and the conservation. And we need to have the diversified source of capitals, including the public capital sources and private. So for one project, so what kind of a revenue can show the economy of it? Like for the nature conservation, it needs to have the industry to support, like the engineering, construction, and the other industry or services are purchased. And also the government may provide the ecological compensation capital, and the credit of the ecosystem can also work on it, and we may also have the concession business. This may also bring the business revenues. So with this, we can have the rational economy. And at the same time, if we can have the controllable risk, we can even do better. The risk assessment and evaluation, these are both parts which the financial institution can apply. So with this, we can see more support given to the natural financing. So you have done a lot of research toward the cases in China. So have you seen some approved examples in the green transformation? So in the process, there are very important factors. The first one is the policy guidance. In the natural financing, it is the same. If we take the energy transition as example, China has the largest investment in the new energy. This is also a result of different kinds of policies, not only the financial policy, but also the industrial policies, and like fiscal policies or the other different supporting policies. So this kind of a synergy is very important. And another is for these financial institutions and regulation.
We have both incentive and regulatory policies to promote this transformation so that we can invite more investment into the new energy. In nature, it is true we can start it from both constrictive and incentive policies. However, we need to have a market feedback, otherwise it doesn't work. We need to guide the policies so that the market and the financial markets are encouraged to make innovation. For example, like the financial leasing, the bonds, insurance, and others, all these products could be combining into a hybrid solution. Maybe one project can have more than one instrument or tool. It may have a comprehensive solution.
The importance of national policy. So, Minister, in Zimbabwe, at the national level, what policies or incentives has your country adopted to align national conservation goals with private capital flows?
Thank you very much. We are amenable to providing tax incentives or rebates to any financiers into the conservation space. I'm thinking here, for example, if someone, let's say, sources a loan or some capital from a bank, and they own let's say, private game park, for example, with, again, I'll go back to my rhino example. We can easily give tax rebates for any interest considerations or whatever else they require around that arrangement. We stand ready to do that. Now, for those who are, sort of exploiting what's below the ground, if there is beneficiation of the minerals that are found down there, whether it's lithium or whatever, again, we're able to give certain tax rebates if there is value addition, but they have to show that they're adding value to what is available naturally, being the mineral. So we stand ready to support them that way. We can also give what you call national project status, which then allows the investor to then import whatever capital equipment they need for that investment, duty-free, so we don't have to pay any duties for that. So we have quite a bouquet of solutions, tax-based solutions, or rebates or incentives that we can extend to anybody investing in these sectors.
As you said, Zimbabwe is a country rich of resources, natural resources. And specifically, how are you encouraging foreign capitals, international investments in your country that support rather than depletes your country's national resources?
First of all, we make it easy for the investors to come in. We have a one-stop investment hub called the Zimbabwe Investment Development Agency. But once they're invested, then I think we're very clear about the rules that they ought to follow in terms of environmental conservation, how they should live with local communities. We've been very clear with that. Some of them comply, some of them don't, but we try to insist. So we believe that our rules are clear enough for them to follow in terms of of conservation. I gave the example of earlier of, for instance, someone who's in platinum mining, for example, a foreign company, and so they mine the platinum underground, but above ground, they're involved in conservation and even farming. They actually have a wonderful head of Wagyu beef, farm right above ground, so using both below and above ground natural resources. So all this we promote, we incentivize, but also we're very clear in terms of how to attract and retain and keep these investors happy.
Yes, that's very interesting. Let's listen to the voices from Brazil. Luisa, looking ahead, what further collaboration do you see between international business and the investment community?
Yeah, I think it's very important to have a diverse set of capital allocations. So we have commercial banks with loans, with green loans. We can have the development banks de-risking, also with bringing blended finance. The corporations with their green strategies being put in place. But also with our hat from the startup world, we need to see more early stage investment, taking this amount of risk and promoting startups from the ground. So venture capital, philanthropy, venture philanthropy, it's very important to do this initial phase. And just a little word on that. We are part of an initiative from the World Economic Forum called Uplink that is very important to create this ecosystem of startups, connect businesses with investors, with other types of partnerships. And they are launching, as of this week, the Nature Returns Investor Challenge. So it's a challenge not only for startups, but for investors, and to create this ecosystem of investors that are investing in nature. That's very relevant for nature tech startups.
Luisa, as far as I know, your company, Bioverse, is 5 years old. Yeah. Yes. What kind of financing innovations do you expect that can help scale nature positive solutions?
Yeah, so it's important in this business, and we're talking about powering the bioeconomy. It's super important also to invest in infrastructure. So we're talking as well, when we look at through the lens of local communities, of indigenous people and local communities and their development, it's important to make sure that we channel these resources also to these communities. So bringing infrastructure and resources to fund small industrial areas where they typically harvest, and it's right now it's typically very artisanal, very organic, and if we want that this becomes a scalable solution to fight deforestation and to bring income to these communities, we need to reduce the number of intermediaries in this supply chain, and we need to increase the revenue that they make out of these harvests of these products. So creating the infrastructure needed is very important. So investment being channeled also to this infrastructure from international organizations, from other types of partnerships and collaborations globally is very relevant for the corporates that buy these products, but also to improve the situation in the ground.
That's all relevant. Kenya, as a financial institution, many financial institutions still lack the tools to quantify natural capitals, especially in the sectors like tourism, like agriculture. So in your perspective, what are the key factors that influence how green finance products are priced and accepted by the market?
So of course, it's very hard to get such kind of the prevailing the indices or the KPIs mentioned. So now the Mizuho has taken approach to we consider the impact, the concept of impact on the nature and the society, and they have to the quantify
Yeah,
Those
how to
impact,
quantify the impact.
How to quantify impact, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
If it's good, of course, we can provide some value or some the funding for such kind of product and a project. And also if it's a negative impact, of course we take the kind of engagement with such companies who are doing such project having a negative impact on nature and the society.
Yeah.
So the concept of impact, this is a very abstract concept. It's very hard, but it's the long journey for us to how to the quantify the concept of impact on nature and society. That's the we are taking.
That's very interesting. A very quick follow-up is how can we better integrate the natural capital valuation into mainstream financial risk financial risk assessment and asset pricing?
Yeah, that's not so easy, but because that the value of the nature or such kind of impact is it's really hard to measure, right? So the first that we need such kind of common understanding about the the value of such kind of impact, and also that we need prevailing the standard rule applicable to the major financial institutions, how to price those the value. And also that's of course that should be a sort of compulsory kind of the standard. So I really think this is not that we have fixed the answer for this question. That's a really effort by all the the participants or all the parties involved in this the journey to how to to materialize those opportunities into real business. So I think still it's in the middle of the such kind of process for journey. But we are trying to quantify those the values.
听一下王老师的看法，这个把这不可量化的事情量化。
So for the unquantifiable indicators to make it quantified, how we can realize this, especially for the financial institutions? Yes, it's quite difficult. In our assessment, we will look at the pricing and we will see what types it is. Is that a physical product or a service or a culture products? So for the physical products and for the culture products, so it's easier to do the pricing like the agriculture products. And if we look at the services, culture services, we can get the revenue from the tourism resort ticket and the tourism revenue. But for the second, that is the services, and these may relate to the conservation of the water resources and the treatment of the air. So how much it worth? So this is quite difficult to do the quantification, and this is 90%, and the other 10%, how about the quantity of it? It's also quite difficult. And also for the confirmation of the property ownership and the assessment related. If we have an exchange and we can have the price of this part and we can do the transaction, so this is easier to have a quantitative price. So it's quite difficult, but now we have the mechanism like the eco credit. So this can help with the monetization of these kind of services.
Discussion so far, we have 15 minutes to go. Everybody is working so hard to make the nature positive transformation. And looking ahead, as estimated by WEF, we are going to generate $10 trillion annually by the year 2030, only 5 years to go. So, Minister, looking ahead, how to mobilize more public, private capital and make green investment financially sustainable? How can we better leverage the roles of international organizations, national government, and the private sector over the next, let's say, 5 years?
It's clear that we need collaboration between the public sector and the private sector and the private promoters, those providers of international capital. This collaboration is critical for us to succeed. The role of governments is obviously to have clear policies. It also realize that we need to give incentives. We cannot attract this capital without giving tax rebates or other incentives. We cannot maximize on this opportunity without being clear on the rules of engagement, how to preserve the environment. We just have to be creative and keep pushing forward. With the New World Order, where we are seeing a drop in overseas development assistance into developing regions such as Africa, we just have to find new sources of finance, and working with this sort of natural capital agenda, or natural economy agenda, is one way to raise additional capital for development. So collaboration is key. We need to forge ahead. We need to resolve the issues that my colleagues have mentioned around valuation, understanding the real benefits from extending credit into this new natural capital economy. Let's work together. I think we'll get there.
How can we guard against the financial risks and ensure that nature finance efforts are credible and not vulnerable to something like greenwashing?
Well, I guess for any foreign investor, let's say into our countries, their biggest risk maybe might be currency risk, for example. We ought to make sure that they have access to currency when they need it. We've got experience, for example, in the renewable energy space, where we've got very clear government implementation arrangements, where we guarantee access to foreign currency so they can remit whatever they need to pay abroad or dividends or whatever. And also we may have to, like what we've done in renewable energy, where we provide government guarantees. Maybe there's need to think about giving government guarantees, that if a borrower cannot pay, shouldn't government step in, given that we're already, we have the obligation already to preserve the environment as government. Why not then extend that to providing guarantees so that the investors are safer? So I believe that these are some of the ways in which we can mitigate risk, currency risk, or indeed default risk and other risk. But it's important to work together so that we can understand the risks. Yeah.
Yes. Luisa, looking ahead, what kind of practical initiatives would you recommend for adoption or scaling in other regions over the next 5 years?
So I was on my way here, I was passing by an installation that showed the fungi intelligence and how it operates in ecosystem. And I think this is the concept that we need to follow. And if we observe, and we're talking about nature and we're talking about preservation, and if we start observing how nature operates in ecosystem and integration and collaboration, I think this is the approach that we need to follow, and we should be mimicking more nature than we are, and we wouldn't be in the situation that we encounter. But that being said, collaboration is definitely something that I think is important, and specifically the Global South collaboration, more collaboration in these next 5 years, more ties, more public-private partnerships, so that we can accelerate this growth and the solutions.
That's interesting. Kenya, so from the perspective of a financial institution, what would be the key priorities over the next 5 years to, first of all, make nature positive financing viable, right? Economically viable, and at the same time minimizing financial risks.
Okay, so for Mizuho, there are three priorities. The first is deepening our involvement in climate change issues, and secondly, accelerating work on natural capital, and thirdly, capacity building. So the climate side, we are stepping up engagement with the high transition risk sectors and clients, working to cut the GHG emission. And we are also financing credible transitions, supporting carbon neutrality efforts like hydrogen and carbon credits, and advancing our climate risk framework. And secondly, on natural capital side, we are developing a scoring model that reflects the international best practices, while the incorporating our own insights to assess how clients' business depend on and affect nature, and to help them shift toward the nature positive practices. We are engaging more deeply with the high dependency sectors like chemicals, automotives, real estate, and the oil and gas. Though the joint research with the leading clients, we are identifying nature-related risks and opportunities more clearly. And also capacity building, empowering our, the bankers for the, this area. That's very important for the, the sustainable journey of the, for this kind. And more importantly, we really, think it's important to, create a good engagement with all the stakeholders. Yeah. Not only, our, of course, the equity investors, but also the, other, all the, stakeholder investors. That can, prohibit a sort of greenwashing kind of activities, that kind of engagement with the stakeholders.
王老师，就是在您看来，您觉得有什么可以推广到
So, Professor Wang, what do you think is a priority, or what we can do to have the nature positive and make it more sustainable? I totally agree with the other panelists, and we feel that it needs the efforts from all the stakeholders. So first, we need to have the policy and the market to be closely connected. No matter emerging countries or the other countries, the policy guidance is very important, especially for the emerging countries. The coordination between the central government and the local government, and also the implementation of the nature protection related policies. Also, the combination with the financial support policies are also very important. And in the market, we have the enterprises, financial institutions, and the third-party institutions. They need to have the higher awareness on the importance of the nature conservation, and to have the positive protection on the nature conservation. And secondly, I want to mention the industry plus the financial. So if we hope to get the the nature protection and conservation, that we will also need the industry to work together with the financial. So this kind of combination is very important. And the third is for the financial institutions, for the strategy development, the product innovation, and the risk management. In all the different scopes, we need to take the nature protection into consideration. So previously, we may think more about the prevention of pollutions, and now we need to look more at the biodiversity. So in our whole decision making and the investment, we need to always remember it.
I would like each of you to share one sentence on your key takeaway. What's most important to make the nature positive transition a reality? One sentence, starting from you, Professor.
我想我刚才可能已经
So I feel this question is already answered, and I believe that if one sentence, the stakeholders, government, enterprise, the financial institution, media, and the think tank need to work together, because this is a critical risk in front of the human beings if we want to get the sustainable development.
There's a saying that money has no color. That means it's indifferent to purpose.
Yeah.
But I believe otherwise. The money carries intention.
Yes.
And the financial institutions like ourselves not only must not only recognize such intention, but also we have to align its use with such intention. This intention should be a hope for the the people, nature, and the next generation. That's the conserving, the protecting the environment and nature.
That's very brilliant. Lisa?
I think we need to change the economic driver and create the necessary incentives to achieve what we want to achieve. Nature-based products are the fastest growing products globally. So bringing investments to that, you're also supporting local communities in the ground, and that will be extremely important to change these economic drivers.
Thank you. Minister, the final thing.
Yeah, I believe public-private partnerships and just collaboration are critical for success on this journey. Government has to play its part, providing regulation incentives, the private sector providing capital. We need to resolve the valuation issues, the economic model issues, but I believe this is doable, but let's work together.
This is doable. Thank you very much. And we have 3 minutes to go. Why not open the floor for questions? And if any one of you have questions, please raise your hand. And there is a microphone passing to you. Yes, this gentleman.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm Alessio Terzi from the University of Cambridge. I have a question. I mean, I work on climate change. And normally climate change, I see it as a complex problem. When I speak to ecologists, they tell me climate change is easy. And biodiversity is the real complex problem. In a way, Luisa, you were hinting at this, in the sense that we don't even know exactly how to measure it. We have an estimate of how many different varieties of plants there are in the Amazon forest, but we don't know the vast majority of it. And so if we can't measure it, how can we assign a price to it that is the correct one? And so how can we make it, as you were suggesting, an investable solution?
This is a question for Luisa.
Or whoever wants to take it.
Luisa.
I think this is the challenge that, for instance, the biodiversity credit market is experiencing, right? That's because, well, the carbon market, you can put a price on it, and the biodiversity market, because there exists so many diversity in different countries and in different biomes, it's much more complex, but there are a lot of methodologies that are being created. And that's why also we are suggesting a complementary solution for biodiversity credits and for carbon credits, which is actually products and ingredients that come from nature that are commodifiable. They are real. So, and they are commercialized. There is a demand for it. There's cosmetic companies, food companies, fiber companies that use these ingredients and sell that to the consumer. So these are real. They're prices. They're commodified. They're concrete. So this is why we are suggesting this type of solution and alternative as a complementary sector and aspect to other more complex activities that exist, such as creating a global price for the bioeconomy biodiversity credit.
Minister, maybe you can add something.
I think I agree with my colleague that there has to be a product or a service arising from this effort for us to begin to put a price on this. Otherwise, we cannot value and cannot understand the business model. A service could be, as I said at the beginning, could be tourism, because if it's within a confined space, I know exactly how much they're earning per week, per annum from tourism. If it's a product, the product is known. And there may be my role in government then would to say, look, if there's a product, let's make sure that we remove the VAT on it, as an incentive.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, everyone. To wrap up, what I want to say is nature is no longer just a cause. It's a form of capital. But turning that insights into action will take more than ambitions. It will take alignment, accountability, and a follow-through. So that's the end of today's forum. You can catch a highlight edit soon on 中国经济论坛 CBN Forum, eScience online platforms, and other places. Hope you check it out. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big thanks to our panelists for their awesome insights. Round of applause, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.